Welcome to Sitcom Showdown, a podcast that reviews classic sitcom episodes and inducts them into our very own Hall of Fame. As usual, one of us has chosen a sitcom episode and the other guy has no idea what it's going to be. Will they already know it? Will they love it? Can they be convinced that it's worthy? Let's find out on Sitcom Showdown. Hello and welcome back to Sitcom Showdown for episode number 42. My name's Jeffers and I've got you over there, Steve.
Yes, hello everyone. And ho ho ho.
Oh yeah.
It's December.
Which
Time to do some Christmas episodes.
It certainly is. So the sitcom I've chosen for today is the first of the Christmas episodes, is Australian, Steve.
Whoa.
Yeah. I wonder how many Australian sitcoms we've done. I think 2 others. I could well be wrong. Let's not even bother go back and counting.
There shan't be any snow then.
No, definitely not in this one. And it's an episode of Mother and Son.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah. It's a highly regarded sitcom, but...
This could be stressful, though.
Could be. Oh, yeah. It's like Faulty Towers with Heart, I suppose. No,
Yeah.
That's completely wrong.
No, strike that.
Yeah, strike
that from the register.
Okay, let's get on with it. So, let's skip straight to the personal background to watching this section. So what are your memories of Mother and Son on the telly?
Well, fairly detailed memories. I couldn't tell you in detail which episodes I watched or anything like that, but I'd say I watched a large chunk of it. And yes, it was, I would say, fairly accurate and dramatic reenactment of family life for a lot of people. There's, well, I shan't go into too much detail, but yes, it's funny, but it's very close to the bone, I would say, for a lot of families.
Yeah,
Does
I
that
reckon
sound
you're
about
right. Yeah, it does sound about right. And you'll hear me echoing those sentiments later on. So, Mother and Son, for anyone who doesn't know, is a show about, well, let's just say the title says it all. So, Arthur Bear is in his 40s and he's had to move in with his aging mother. He's divorced these days, so he's able to do that. And although Maggie Bear is losing her marbles somewhat, shall we say, she's still physically...
Dubious.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, of course, we'll get into that. Yeah,
goes.
it does, to her advantage. Yeah, so she's very sprightly, and if you stop watching her for a minute, she'll do something, and so she's physically incredibly capable.
Yep.
And as you say, her dottiness is sometimes to be debated. It was on the ABC network here in Australia, which is the government broadcaster. We're going to be covering Series 3, Episode 1, The Christmas Drinks, which was broadcast on Christmas Eve in 1985.
Christmas drinks. Maybe they're having someone around for Christmas drinks.
Oh, you're doing well.
Maybe Arthur's stocking the esky or something.
Close to it. Yes, so Arthur has a brother, Robbie, and his wife, Liz. And Robert, is a dentist.
He's a shocker.
And he's a bit of a Lothario. And he never wants to take any of the responsibilities of looking after Maggie Bear on board and dumps everything on Arthur while he goes off to...
Yeah, he's loaded, right?
Yeah. Comparatively, definitely. Yeah, Arthur's a journalist, and of course he probably lost a lot in the divorce and doesn't make a lot of money and these sorts of things. So there you go. Mother and Son ran for 10 years from 1984 to 1994, but they did only 42 episodes, and that's
so
in 6
how many
series.
6 series?
7 episodes a series. Yeah. I'll give you some context on what other Australian sitcoms were doing at the time in just a minute. Let's talk about the 2 famous stars. Gary McDonald.
Gary definitely is.
Oh, yeah. He played Arthur Bear, and he's a comedy legend in Australia, who created the character of Norman Gunston, an Australian cultural icon.
Oh, my goodness.
In 1973 on the Auntie Jack show. And
Auntie Jack.
Some people say
I'll rip your bloody arms off.
And I will too. Yeah, so some people have called it sort of Australia's Monty Python. And I do have it on DVD, but I don't often watch it because it can be crap. But then he got his own show, the Norman Gunston Show, and that ran from 75 to 79. And so successful it was that after the first series, when they did the Logies in 76, Gary McDonald amazingly won Best New Talent Logie and the Gold Logie, which is the king of all Logies. So
it doesn't get any bigger than that in Australia, does it?
No, definitely not. No. And then he won another Logie for Mother and Son in 94. Because being the last year, I think they were, oh my God, we're going to lose this incredible show. And so they just threw all the awards at it. But I'll tell you more about that in a minute. So Gary McDonald got the Lifetime Hall of Fame Logie as well, which gives him a total of 3 Logies.
And the mantelpiece is stocked.
Oh, man, it is. And there's more besides that as well. So he was also given the Order of Australia, and he's listed as a National Living Treasure.
Wow.
Not in a...
By who?
Yeah, by the authorities of
By
such
the National
things.
Living Treasure people.
Yeah, that's right.
The National Living Treasure Authority of Australia.
The NLTA. That's them. But he does have official National Living Treasure status, not just by dreamed up in the backyard by you and me. So Ruth Cracknell, who really is the
before
star
we
of the
move
show.
off, Gary,
Yeah, cool.
we should say that some of the people he interviewed as Norman Gunston, you
Heads
just
of
would
state,
not believe.
And yeah,
It's almost okay. So now I'm showing my ignorance. Sasha, what's his name?
Baron Cohen.
Yes, who does all the interviews with unsuspecting famous people.
I
Surely he got the idea for that
From
off
Norman
watching
Gunston.
Norman Gunston.
I'd like to think so. And in fact, I read something doing the research that said he pioneered ambush interviewing for comedy. So there you go. I think you bang on.
Yep, with this kind of weird character who puts people slightly off guard, not
Tall,
knowing whether
lanky,
can he really
balding.
be serious, or is he serious or not serious? What's going on here?
Yeah. And people don't take him seriously, but he's actually stupidly smart and catches them off guard. He only does it for comedy. He doesn't do it in what you see these days to score political points. It was all comedy based, so he'd get them with a weird question about, I don't know, Lamingtons or something like that. So it's classic stuff.
Yep. I think Muhammad Ali was one of his best, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think so. So look up Norman Gunston on the YouTubes.
Yep.
Right, let's move on to Ruth Cracknell. She started as a radio actress and moved into being a stage star, so highly respected stage person. But what I didn't know, it's very interesting, is that she was one of the hosts of Play School in the 60s.
Wow.
Who would have known that? I certainly didn't. Yeah, so she's also done a few Aussie films and mini-series. She was popular in mini-series, which I guess is good for her because she could do a little bit of filming, not commit to a whole TV show series, and still do stage work.
Yep.
But it was Mother and Son that made her famous to most Australians, and she was 59 when she got the Maggie Bear role in 84. So that's quite young because she plays it a lot older.
Yep.
All
So
right.
Maggie's what's supposed to be in her 70s?
Yeah.
We'd say something like that.
And we lost her in 2002. But Ruth Cracknell had more Logies than Gary McDonald. She got 4. And in 1994, she got Best Actress and Best Comedy Personality, and she was 69 years old. So there you go. Now, I'm not trying to take anything away from Ruth Cracknell, right?
You're not
But
having a crack.
When you can
Having a crack at
no,
Ruth
I'm
Cracknell.
not having a crack at the Cracknell. Her competition wasn't very good. So the person who won it the year before was Mary Custis for playing Effie in Acropolis Now.
Oh,
So,
goodness.
and then Ruth Cracknell won the most outstanding comedy thingo the year after. That's not to trash Acropolis Now. No way. I'll get onto that in a minute. And so Ruth Cracknell also was awarded the Order of Australia, like Gary McDonald. And just to do a bit of a humble family brag, do you know anyone that also got the Order of Australia who's in our direct line of descendancy or ascendancy?
yes,
Yes.
I do.
It's our grandmother.
Yes.
Joy Ford. She got the Order of Australia in the same year that this episode of Mother and Son went out.
Oh, really?
85. She didn't last too long after that, I should add.
Yes.
Yeah. But never mind all that. Mother and Son, getting back to the whole Australian sitcom landscape, which was pretty awful at the time, it was completely overshadowed by all these hugely popular shows that weren't as good, like Hey Dad, for example,
Oh, my
which we
goodness.
mustn't speak about now. That went for 7 years and pumped out 291 episodes and was sold to 20 countries, and they did international
Oh,
versions.
my goodness.
This is just crazy, crazy stuff. And that was running, I think, 87 to 94 or something, 95. And Acropolis Now itself ran from 89 to 92 and pumped out 63 episodes.
Wow.
And yeah, so this is what Mother and Son was up against on the commercial networks. I don't think Hey Dad, and nor did Mother and Son, I should point out, and Acropolis Now didn't win any awards for best comedy program or anything.
Wow.
There you go. But
No
that all went
surprises
to sketch shows, like your
Yes.
Full Frontals and
I was
Fast
just
Forwards.
thinking that the sketch shows would have been coming to the fore in those days.
Quite right, and the Gillies report and that sort of thing. Anyway, let's move on because we've taken up quite a bit of time on all this sort of stuff. So you and I should go away and watch this episode in awful quality on YouTube.
Yep.
And then we'll come back.
Okay.
Happy Christmas, Ted and Daisy.
Read the date.
1959.
Well,
The mail's dreadful these days.
Ted and Daisy are dead.
When did this happen?
Years ago, Mum.
And they still remember to send me.
Mum, nearly all the people who send you these cards are dead.
Yes, well, it's all very well for you, isn't it? Your friends are allowed to be alive, mine have to be dead. You want all your friends here, and none of mine.
At the moment, I'd say we're about even.
Well, that's no reason to hit the bottle.
I'm not hitting the bottle. Just having a Christmas drink.
That's how it starts, isn't it? It's just a Christmas drink, Mum. Then it's just an Easter drink. Then a birthday drink. And all of a sudden you wake up and it's, oops, sorry, Mum, I'm drunk.
Cheers.
You'll be sorry. Santa doesn't come to little boys who drink.
Well, I hope someone comes. Otherwise I'll have to drink all this on my own.
Okay, Steve, so we've just watched Mother and Son Christmas Drinks. And before I launch into the synopsis, I just want to clear up a couple of little bits of leftover stuff.
Yep.
Because we didn't mention Arthur's brother is played by Henry Zepps, and he's very good. He's got a great television face. And Robbie's wife, Liz, is played by Judy Morris.
Yes, very well-known actress.
Yeah, great actress. But I didn't give them the rundown because I didn't think we'd have time. And also, you mentioned to me while we were watching it that you thought I liked Acropolis Now, which it sounded like I was trashing earlier on, but I do actually own DVDs of Acropolis Now, and at the time I thought it was fantastic. So yeah.
And at the time, I thought it was fantastic.
Yeah, exactly. Oh no, I haven't watched the DVD in yonks. I still do enjoy Acropolis Now because it's really over the top, and Mary Custis is good. And the character of Effie took Australia by storm. But in terms of actressing, it's not quite up there with Ruth Cracknell's Maggie Bear.
Yes.
But, whatever. Okay, let's move on and let the listener know what happens in this episode. I gave myself a 2-page maximum because you could spend hours writing about this.
So you wrote really small?
Oh, I did. Okay, so we open with Maggie walking into the front yard, and we're wondering what she's doing at this stage. She's singing Jingle Bells and forgetting the words, as you'd expect, I suppose.
Yep.
And we see her putting up a sign in the driveway, and the sign says, "Death in the family, party cancelled."
Yes.
So she comes back into the house, and Arthur asks her what she was doing, and I guess it's because, like kids, they're conspicuous by their silence. So if he takes his eyes off her for a minute, she'll be up to something. Or she'll just wander down the street or something. Who knows? Yep. Maggie replies that she was just putting up some decorations. Nothing serious. Nothing for him to worry about. Arthur wants to see the decorations, but she bluffs up some rubbish as to why he shouldn't. And he's really busy, obviously, setting up for some sort of party. So that's good enough for him.
Yep, he's a bit too distracted to really drill down into the details of what's going on here.
Yeah.
But she looks a bit startled.
Yeah. She's lying 30 seconds into the episode and already having to backpedal. Yes, but so we see Arthur setting up this party, and we see Maggie with her hat and coat and her handbag on her arm.
Yep.
And although we might not consciously register that she's kitted out like that, somewhere it's laying the seeds for us that she's expecting to go out.
But why?
Yeah, well.
When they're supposed to be having a party.
Quite right. So the phone rings, and it's Robbie and Liz saying they'll come round. And Maggie goes into a panic, thinking, oh no, they're going to see the sign. And she asks Arthur to tell them, or she says, why can't they just meet us at church? And that gives us a hint as to what's happening. And Arthur says they're not going to church, they're bringing presents over. And Maggie says, look, they'll have to come in the back way. And at this point, the conversation starts, which reveals to us, the watchers, that Maggie wants to go to church because it's Carol's night. And Arthur has, meanwhile, had this long-planned Christmas drinks gathering with his friends, who presumably he doesn't get to see very often because he's at home looking after Mum.
Yep.
And she either pretends not to know that he's got this party on or doesn't know about this arrangement. and I've put in brackets bullcrap. She knows. So there's a whole bunch of cracking dialogue in this scene and character development because they reminisce and there's backstory. So there's the story about the Christmas with the fire, and she's saying, "Come on, Arthur, you remember the big bushfire Christmas?" And he goes, "No." She goes, "Of course you do. I took you out in your pram to see it."
You were in your pram.
Oh. And there's lots of little things like that, like good stories. Oh, and the one about him getting a scooter for Christmas that year, but he hadn't been good that year. He'd been naughty, and she got it for him anyway.
Yep.
Just you remember that?
He's still hanging that scooter over his head.
Oh.
30 years later.
Oh, well, exactly. So he makes a deal with her, right? And he says, "Look, if my friends leave early, I'll take you to church." So he's just trying to placate her. And she goes, "What if they don't turn up?" He goes, "Why would you think they're not turning up?" And he goes, "Look, if they don't turn up, I'll take you to church." So we cut to a couple of hours later, and Arthur's worried because everyone's an hour late. Nobody's turned up. Maggie's waiting by the door in her hat, coat and handbag, and so her plan's working. But somehow they get onto a chat about only having 3 Christmas cards. But Maggie says, "Well, that's not right. We've got lots more." And Arthur picks one up and asks her to read it, and it's dated 1959.
Yeah.
And Maggie seems shocked, but she would have put them out 3 or 4 days ago. So she does genuinely have some memory problems, but she's also conniving. And
this is where they got the idea for Mr. Bean sending the cards to himself. Yeah.
And in Bottom with Richie sending himself cards. But this is before all of those, so we can give credit to Australia. Arthur tells...
Tim Tams and Christmas cards.
Yeah, we're really riding at this last couple episodes, aren't we? Arthur tells Maggie that he can't take her to church, right? Because if his friends turn up, they'll have turned up late. And so therefore, they're going to stay late.
Yes.
And there won't be time to take her to...
That makes sense.
It does. She says, "Look, they're not coming." And he wonders why she's so sure, and she says, "A little birdie told me." And he just says, "No way," and she has to backpedal and say they rang while he was in the bathroom. He goes, "What, 20 people rang?"
Yeah.
And that lays some good groundwork.
All together or one after another?
Yeah. And he says, "What about Judy or whatever?" And she goes, "Yep, she rang." "What about Jeffrey?" "Yeah, he rang." "What about Max?" "Yep, he rang." "No, he didn't, because I didn't invite him."
Yep. Oh, this was very
very
solid writing.
It's an important plot point, isn't it? So Arthur says she's being ridiculous, and Maggie gets really annoyed, and she storms off because she thought she was going to church because she's laid out the whole plan and it worked, but no. And she says to him that he's naughty and Santa won't bring him any presents.
Yeah. There'll be no scooter for you, mate.
Yeah. And I think I want to discuss later on whether Maggie does believe in Santa. Anyway, we'll put a line through that for the time being. So a minute later, Arthur's friend Max turns up, the one he didn't invite. And this leads to a hilarious section based on the misunderstanding where Max has seen the sign outside and he goes in to console Arthur and ask him about the death in the family, but they're talking at cross purposes because he's talking about the party.
Classic misunderstanding.
It totally is. And so Arthur's cheerily having a drink and going, "Sit down, and how's it going?" and blah, blah, blah. So I've got a clip for that, Steve, which we'll bung in now.
Sweet.
Max. Come in.
Are you sure it's all right?
Yes, come in. I was about to drown my sorrows.
I assume it was your mother. What can I say?
Oh, don't worry about her. She went off in a bit of a bad mood.
Oh, well, I'll probably go that way myself. Was it quick?
Was it ever? One minute I was telling her I wouldn't take her to church, and the next minute, whoosh, she was gone. Have a drink?
If it's okay, thanks.
Well, happy Christmas.
Cheers.
Sit down.
Well, I'll say this for you. You're in good spirits.
Yeah, I am. I've been looking forward to this.
Sounds like you planned it.
I did.
When?
Oh, a couple of weeks ago. These things don't just happen, you know.
Where is she now?
In there. Thank God I got her out of the way before anyone arrived.
Will she be all right in there? In this heat?
I know, and she's still got a bloody coat on. Why all these questions about my mother?
Well, someone's going to ask questions.
What are you talking about?
The sign on the gate.
What sign?
The one that says, "Party cancelled, death in the family."
Bloody mum.
So during that conversation with Max, the whole plan's revealed, and Arthur's found out. Maggie put the sign out the front to stop the party happening. He's not very happy about it.
No.
There you go. But you'd think that's the clincher, right? And that, I think in weaker shows, that would be the end of the episode, and they draw the whole thing out. But we're only halfway through here.
We're just getting started.
You're exactly right, and it gets better and better. So there's a great scene after this where Maggie bursts in, and because Max thinks she's dead, he's like, Mrs. Bear! And she's wondering who the hell he is, and oh, man.
Which one are you again?
Yeah. Do I like you?
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
I think I'm your favourite.
Are you the one I like?
No, I don't think I do. Maggie, because Arthur's still outside ripping this sign down, and she says, have you got a drink? And Max says, yes, I have. She goes, well, drink up, and you'll need to leave because we're asking people to leave a bit early today. Oh, man.
Oh, the sign was written on the back of a Christmas card.
Yeah.
From 1954.
Oh, dude. And it's at this point that Arthur's brother Robbie turns up with his wife Liz. And, he just swans in with all the presents and gets all the praise and everything.
Yep.
And Maggie thinks it's Santa, and it's only when he takes the beard off, and because she says, that looks like Liz, what's going on here? And she's genuinely surprised to see it's Robbie. And so he showers her with presents and all this sort of stuff. But he does say, look, they can't stay. They're going off to a party, and they can't come tomorrow either. Because Robert and Liz have got to go to a party on his stockbroker's yacht, and he can't get out of it, He'd love to, but he just can't not go to this thing.
Yes,
so,
obviously having his arm twisted there.
Yeah, totally. So on the topic of parties, Max reveals that he only turned up at Arthur's because he got chucked out of a party at the McElroys, and then we learned that all of Arthur's social circle is at the McElroys, and they've stayed at that party because some lady got nudie and jumped in the pool.
Yep.
And as Max says, you can't compete with that.
No.
So...
Sorry, Arthur.
Yeah. So it's all gone wrong for poor old Arthur, who's put so much work in. But anyway, with no one coming, Maggie, she can sense victory, and she says they'll all go to church. But then Robbie and Liz are trying to squirm their way out of it. And Arthur's still so mad with her about trying to ruin everything that he says, I'm not taking you to church. Oh, man. But Max steps in and sets them all straight because he's an orphan with no family.
Yep.
And he's,
He says, this doesn't happen in the Brady Bunch.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll put a big line under that.
Yeah. Maybe it did. We missed that episode.
Perfect summary of this episode.
Yeah, totally.
It's not a happy ending, that's for sure.
Oh, no, it's not. And it's at this point that a big row breaks out, you're right. And so after Max straightens things out, needless to say, we cut to the church, and there's this slow panning shot. Yeah.
This is piss off the both of you.
An outburst from Arthur. Yeah.
He goes right off.
Yeah. And then they tell him that they never come around because he's a miserable sod and all that sort of stuff. Yeah. Everyone's telling all the home truths, aren't they? But yeah, so we are at the end of the episode, and we see them all in church in this nice tracking shot that shows all their faces one by one, and poor old Liz has got a headache, and Robbie's rolling his eyes, and Maggie's...
First you see Maggie, and she's so happy. And then you see Max, and he's like, yeah, all right.
And the rest of them are...
And then, everyone else is just unhappy.
The end. Scrunch, scrunch, scrunch. Oh, okay, I'll hand it over to you, Steve, because people have heard enough from me.
Oh, well, I could start with a few light-hearted cultural references from the late 80s?
Oh,
early
yeah.
90s, did we say?
Well, this is 85.
85.
Christmas 85.
Beauty.
Yeah.
Let's start with Arthur's moustache.
Okay.
Which is straight out of the Dennis Lilly or Rod Marsh or Max
You're
Walker.
absolutely right.
School of Moustaches.
Yep. And for our American listeners, just think Burt Reynolds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good equivalent. They're talking about what Christmas is, and Max says, it's the one day of the year where we don't get milk delivered. It takes me back.
It is a good line.
They're drinking, Arthur's really laying on the top shelf drinks.
Oh, yeah,
for his
he's
party.
got his, what are they
So he's
called?
got,
The cut glass decanters of scotch and such?
Yeah.
Oh,
But
sorry, you're talking.
He's got the the cask of Cooler Bar there.
Yeah.
Which is like a really cheap, horrible white wine.
Yeah, we both looked at that and commented on it.
Yeah. Of the era.
But that's why I think he gives that to Max first, even though Max has walked in with a six-pack, because you've got to give people the cheap crap first so they get hammered on that and then don't drink his expensive scotch. How's that sound? Is that a good theory?
Yeah, sure.
Oh, good. I'll try that at your place over Christmas. No, hang on, you're coming here. Ah!
No, that's not going to work.
Oh.
And then the last one of these was the at the carols in the church, they've actually got candles stuck through a paper plate.
Do they not do that anymore, Steve?
No way. Imagine the fire risk.
Health and safety
Health
wouldn't
and
allow
safety, you wouldn't have a bar of that.
it. Okay, fair enough.
No, you've got a little
Operated
battery-powered candle.
LED candle.
And if you're really lucky, it might change colours.
No.
Yeah.
Cool.
We went out last night to carols by candlelight, and that's what we had.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Look, let's get back on track here,
Yes,
dude.
all right.
Have you got any other...
No, they're the last of my archaic cultural references.
Okay, no worries.
Well, they're constantly moving between what happened in the past, now what we're seeing in the current day. So
True.
she's treating Arthur as if he's the little boy from so many years ago, but then like they'll completely twist that in a really funny way where he treats her like she's regressed to this kind of childlike state.
True.
And he'll say something like, well, you won't get any presents, or he'll tell her off like she's a little girl.
Yeah.
So it's a really weird relationship they've got going on.
And yeah, and he says to her, if you're good and
Yep.
people leave early, then I... Yeah, no,
Then
I
she'll do
get
the same
exactly
thing
what you
to
meant. Yeah. She did tell him to go to his room at one point.
Yeah,
Oh, dear.
that didn't work.
Now, the scooter thread.
Mm.
Oh, wow. So she, earlier in the episode, had said, she had to mime out what a scooter was, so that was pretty good value. And then she said, well, we got you that, and you were very naughty that year, just remember that, and it does come up later on. But then she just casually asked him later on, where is that scooter? He goes, I don't know.
Yeah. That went years ago, Mum.
Yeah.
I've
Oh,
got
you never
no
look
idea.
after your toys.
Yeah.
And then later on, she almost forgets that she got it for him because she's yelling at him and she goes, I'm not going to get you that scooter.
But you're never quite sure if she is really that dotty or not.
That's the
Because
beauty of
she's
it,
so
isn't it?
manipulative.
Yeah.
She uses it to her advantage all the time.
Oh, she's a master plotter. She
Like
really
when he
is.
confronts her with the sign.
Yeah.
What's this, Mum? She's like, "Well, I don't know.
I'll just get my glasses.
Yeah. Like,
Oh,
she can't read the very thing that she's written.
He goes, it's in big print, Mum, you can read it. And then she goes, there are 2 L's in cancelled.
Yeah. How many L's are there in cancelled? Max? What?
Like, she's a master of delaying tactics. Oh, dude. So set up for the party, and Arthur is filling a tub with ice over champagne bottles, which is a very common thing in Australia.
Yep.
And she goes, what are you doing that for? He goes, well, so people can put their drinks out in there.
Yep.
And she goes, we've got glasses, surely. And he's shaking his head and says, don't worry, Mum, I'll ask everyone to bring their own straws like they're all going to communally. Well, I suppose that's what a punch bowl is, isn't it? To be fair.
You don't put a straw in a punch bowl.
That aside,
Well,
it's
I don't.
similar-ish concept.
I'm a bit concerned about Christmas now.
Speaking of that sort of behaviour, though,
I'll be bringing my own cup on Christmas Day, Jeff.
you'd be wise to.
I know there'll be straws there, but
You're not allowed plastic straws these days, Steve. You get thrown in clinky for crimes against plastic and the environment.
bamboo straws, sure.
Oh, I've never heard. Look, put them on the Christmas list for me. Now, let's get back to this, dude. So, anyway, Maggie's under the mistletoe trying to get all these kisses. And that's just classic stuff because she's draping her arm up and trying to look 1920s seductive. And, oh, man, that's funny. And then she's so emotionally blackmailing. She goes, Christmas is a time to forgive, in front of Max, the third party, just so that Arthur doesn't blow his top, you know?
That doesn't work.
Wow. After getting the presents from Robbie, before she starts counting them out and going, 3 for me, she wants to open them, but Arthur's laying down the law quite rightly and saying, not till tomorrow morning, go and put them under the tree. So she starts walking out the front door and he has to yell, the Christmas tree.
That was an absolute classic.
It's that sort of gold and they're peppered in there, you know, it's really good. So as I'm looking at you cross off all your notes because I've already raised them first, I think that indicates a very healthy gag rate, and that if you're noting them down and I'm noting them down, then they're notable gags.
Yep.
Have you got any left?
Yep, I do. I've got several. They're saying something about making a Christmas wish.
Right.
And Maggie says something along the lines of wishing for something nice for her favourite son.
Yeah.
And don't worry, Arthur, something for you as well.
Yeah.
Bomb bomb.
Yeah.
And I think that's around the time where things start going off the rails in the episode.
I think
Because
you're right.
he's the one who he lives there with her, which is enough to drive everyone mad, and he really cares for her, whereas Robbie doesn't, but of course he's the favourite son for
Golden
some
boy.
completely bizarre reason. And then there's
It's-
another one where Maggie says, "It beats me why they have Christmas now in this heat."
Oh, yes.
Being in Australia, and Arthur says something along the lines of, "Well, it's not this hot everywhere. Mum.
Yeah.
Not everyone's got
In
this
Europe,
heat."
they have it in winter. And
Yeah.
she goes, what, they have to wait that long, thinking winter's still 6 months away.
They wait until winter.
He goes, it's winter now. Well, if this is winter, I'd hate to see summer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that was gold, that one. Another one of those great situations where the writer seeds the gag ahead of time. She says something along the line, well, she's talking about her presents, and he's basically saying to her, "Mum, there's nothing to get, it's either nothing to get excited about, or don't worry about your presents getting wrecked," or something like that. And he says it's just soap and...
Oh, soap and
some other-
hankies.
Soap and hankies.
It's hard to damage soap and hankies.
You don't think too much of it at the time, but then when Rob and Liz have come around, Maggie's surreptitiously having a look at what the presents she's got, and she opens one of them, and it's soap.
Which Liz got her, because Liz doesn't want to put any thought into what to get Robbie's mum, who's a pain, so...
Yep.
Oh,
but
buy us some
Arthur's
soap.
completely picked the fact that they're going to give her soap.
Yep.
He's done this ahead of time, and it's also like quite a cheap present, and bars of soap are they're another bygone thing.
So, on the topic of presents, she hasn't got anything for Arthur that year.
Of course not.
Nor the year before.
No.
And she tries to wrap up the cut-up Christmas cake and give it to him as a present. And then when he reveals that scam, because he's looking for where the Christmas cake is, "Where is it, Mum?" And she looks in her lap and goes, "I don't know what you mean.
Yep.
This is Mummy's secret, nothing you want to know about." And then when he gets mad at her for doing that, she's acting utterly shocked and surprised and goes, "Oh, well, you don't like it. You know, how ungrateful." And it's unbelievable, dude. It's unbelievable.
What you've done is wrapped the Christmas cake that I bought
really badly
for
I
the
should add.
party, which you've sabotaged.
And then, he's ungrateful for that. He doesn't like his present. Oh, wow.
Unbelievable.
And then Robbie and Liz just flat out says, "We didn't get you anything, Arthur, because you're too hard to buy for." And to him, that's just, he totally expected that. He saw it coming, so they've obviously never get him anything.
She's just horrible.
Oh, totally.
I'm surprised she even got out of the car.
Oh, yeah, well, under sufferance.
Yep.
For sure.
Just, "I'll stay here, Robbie. You run in, do your little favourite son thing, and get back out here, and we'll head off."
Exactly. They didn't even bring the kids round.
Yep.
'Cause
Which
they
brings
prob-
me to another note. I've
Okay,
got.
here we go.
Well, Maggie drops the comment about them all going to church, and they're not too keen on this idea, of course. And Robbie says, "We haven't got time for church, Mum. It's Christmas."
Yeah.
Somehow she's got this idea that if you go to the nativity that's set up at the church, that's a deal where you can throw money and make a wish. Throw money at the baby
Yes.
Jesus and
What are
make
you
a wish.
talking about? She goes, "Don't they do that anymore?"
Yeah. No, I don't think they ever did. You remember, don't you, Arthur? I pushed you there in your pram.
Yeah, that sort of thing. Yep. That was
That's-
another good one.
Well, that's the end of my notes.
So there was plenty of stuff there, wasn't there? Holy moly.
Some classics.
So, all right, well, I'll just give my observations and final thoughts. I did like having Max there as the third party. It's a good device, I thought, but we've commented on that before. And the good thing about this show, one of the great things, is that none of them are perfect. You know, I mean, some of them are very far from perfect, but Arthur cops the worst of it.
Yep.
But they're all relatable people, and we know people like that. It's pretty cool. But what I like about this Christmas episode is that it's got all the qualities that made it good throughout the whole run. It's not lacking in what typifies mother and son. Like, it's really human, and it's darkly funny, and it's touching, and it's real, and it's got well-observed scripts and top-shelf acting, and it's just a great example also, I think, budget-wise, of how to make a classic, well-respected sitcom with no need for anything but like a couple of sets and maybe the odd outside shot. And it must have been cheap as buggery.
Oh, yeah.
But it doesn't look cheap.
No.
It's just all done in the writing and the acting. It's really, really cool. And it encapsulates the whole conflict, because poor old Arthur needs a life beyond being a carer.
I was just going to say this.
Oh, and Maggie, she doesn't have any independence. She can't drive herself to church, which, you know, and so they're both sort of trapped. And I'd put it up against any of the other great sitcoms worldwide, but particularly against things of a similar ilk like Steptoe and Son, which I've not watched very much of, but apparently it's very much the same sort of setup.
Yeah, well, that's his situation, isn't it? He's essentially trapped because his brother won't look after his mum.
Mm-hmm.
So he's forced to look after her, and his life is just absolutely passing him by
Oh, yes.
while he's stuck doing this. And if she actually appreciated it, it would make it a little bit more bearable, but she's just a complete handful.
Totally.
Total manipulator. And she gets what she wants at the end of the episode.
Oh, true.
She gets them all there at church,
Yep.
at the carols, and
And
she's got her way.
Conveniently, she can actually dodge blame, even though she was being completely wrong behaviour throughout, because the people weren't going to turn up anyway.
I know. This is just so much worse for him.
Yeah.
It's the whole family thing, plus these friends that he would like to foster this relationship with. They can't even be bothered coming around.
Yeah. Poor old Arthur. And they're so effective at getting us to be annoyed with certain people at certain times. Yeah, it's right up there. That's my theory. That's my... What's the word I'm looking for? That's the case I'm putting.
All right.
And where do you, Steve, stand on Mother and Son, particularly this episode?
Yes,
Your judgment?
I'm going to definitely put it in.
Excellent.
But I'd say can be a bit of a hard watch, this one, just because of the family tensions which they're getting the laughs out of are so
Heartbreakingly.
so real.
Yeah, they are. Oh.
This is the situation for lots of people.
So it's in the Hall of Fame
Yes,
then?
it's in the Hall of Fame.
Oh, very good.
Confirmed.
Excellent. Well, that's a nice Christmas gift. Thank you, Steve.
Totally enjoyed watching that. I would say of all the Aussie sitcoms we've looked at so far, this is the one that, if you look back, it's the closest to classic status, I would say. But then I haven't watched it for a long time, so I was quite happy to see it's stood the test of time.
Yep.
And we'll see you in a fortnight.
Good-o. Thanks, Steve.
Okay.
Cheers. Join us next time on Sitcom Showdown when we'll be putting another 5-star episode under the microscope. And in the meantime, you can contact us with feedback on Facebook, Twitter @Sitcom Showdown, or by email sitcomshowdown@gmail.com.